belongs to we the people. Joining me now are two people who are hard at work figuring that out. Sam Daley Harris is the CEO of the Center for Citizens Empowerment and Transformation, the CEO of Results, the author of Reclaiming Our Democracy, Healing the Break Between People and Government. Marianne Williamson is a lecturer and the author of 11 books, including The Law of Divine Compensation. And it's great to have you both here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Marianne, I want to start out with you. This AP poll that says that 75% of Americans feel like they're ignored in Washington, D.C. It's actually, should be 90%, shouldn't it? Because it seems like the bottom 90% doesn't get what they want legislatively.
Well, I think, particularly because of the Occupy movement, I think people really did get the message that there's a 1% that sort of dominates the reins of government, and that we have really changed the social contract from a government of the people, by the people, for the people, to government of a few of the people, by a few of the people, for a few of the people. A kind of corporatism obviously has replaced democracy. I think where people are now is figuring out who, if anyone, is really on their side in all this. Where do the Republicans stand? Where do the Democrats stand? And I think people have to take some responsibility here, too. People feel that way, but then if they feel that way, why haven't they been voting? I mean, if 75% feel that way, why haven't 75% voted in most of our elections? So I think that the current crisis that we're going through is really waking people up. And this is a moment of peril and possibility. Now people have to think deeply about how their own disengagement, in many cases, contributed to it getting this bad, and then a kind of re-engagement, which Sam is so good at, is what's going to fix this. But we have to fix it in some very fundamental ways.
Well, and there's also this fundamental issue, just to follow up on this, Marianne, that a lot of people, I think, thought that they were voting for change. You know, Donald Trump, you know, in his political campaign, in his campaign for president, he was saying, "Oh, the bankers, they're killers. I'm gonna break up the big banks, and you know, it's these companies are sending our jobs that we're gonna stop." I mean, I believe that many people, well-intentioned people, actually, because he was running on basically a Democratic platform. I'm not going to touch your Social Security, Medicare, you know, Medicaid. We're going to stop the crazy trade deals. We're going to bring back the job. I mean.
Yes, but he was also saying a lot of other things. And I don't care how much you might have liked certain things that he was saying, there were other things that he was saying that I think would make any person, or should make any person, at least question his dedication to certain democratic principles. So I think that part of that even has to do with the fact that we've stopped teaching our children civics in school. There's a lot of ignorance. I don't mean stupidity, but ignorance among the American people about what our Constitution says, what our Declaration of Independence actually says. Too many people aren't really aware anymore of the basic bulwark principles of American democracy, and so don't know to be horrified when assaults to those principles are present. And I do believe, not just in his presidency, but in his campaign, Donald Trump said a lot of things that I think would have made a person thinking very deeply about some of this to at least question. Yeah. Maybe they would have voted for him anyway, but I don't just give the whole citizenry a pass on this. Yeah. This didn't come out of nowhere.
Well, and the fact of the matter is he got 3 million fewer votes than the candidate who actually won the popular vote. So, you know, if Hillary. So, Sam, you've been doing essentially the same talk with different titles. One is writing checks, signing petitions, and protest marches. Is that all there is? And the second is, are shouting and silence the only two options, bringing bipartisanship and transformation to political activism? Yeah. Are you rejecting resistance?
No.
Okay,
no, I mean, I'm clear that without the resistance, we'd have a massively mean healthcare law enacted right now. So the resistance is critical, and it's important, especially for stopping bad things from happening. But if we only have resistance, that's not going to cut it. We really need other ways, too, to get good things to happen. And so, you know, we spoke a year ago, and I think I was mentioning a new climate solutions caucus with 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats, where at the time of the election, it was down to 6 and 6, because 4 Republicans either retired or lost their seats. After the inauguration, 18 more Republicans, 18 more Democrats came on board. Now there are 24 Republicans, 24 Democrats on this House Climate Solutions Caucus. That doesn't come from the shouting.
How is it that that never gets reported?
Well, I mean, it's not noisy enough.
Yeah.
And so Yeah.
So that's a specific. That's
Yeah.
marvelous.
Yeah.
Marianne, you're in D.C. for the Results International Conference.
I am.
Tell us what happened and about the session you led.
Well, as you know, Sam founded Results, and it does have to do with all the things that he's been talking about, citizens actually taking an active part in our democracy. And going back to what you and I were talking about before, too many people don't even know the basics. Like, you know, I always say to people, take the phone number of the switchboard of the U.S. Congress and put it on your refrigerator. Make your constituent calls. At Results, they teach people how to write op-eds. Too many people don't know. You know, they know, but don't have a real visceral feeling for the fact that your senator works for you, your congressman works for you. Call them up, tell them how you feel, make noise. So I've always supported the work of Results. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking in my workshop about how, in order for this revitalization to occur, yes, we need more citizen activism, but once again, as we were talking about before, there's been a deadening inside us. We ourselves have to come awake again. We have to recognize the United States is going through a kind of dark night of the soul right now. We need to get up. We need to dust ourselves off. We need to realize, once again, a lot of our own disengagement contributed to this. Our re-engagement is the only thing that can change it, but it has to be re-engagement on a whole fundamental level that has not been present. And that's what I want to talk about tomorrow, the changes inside us. You know, we treat government in a very rationalistic way. People in politics treat it like it's just some machine and they're going to tinker with the parts of the machine. But that lack of organic and holistic perspective isn't working, for one thing, and it's obsolete in the 21st century. A country is not at our externals, it's our people. And so I want to talk about a politics that really is aligned more with who we are as people, because I feel deep down democracy is aligned with the deepest yearnings of the human heart. Democracy is not just a political imperative, it's a moral imperative. So I want to talk about those aspects of democracy that have to do with the deeper yearnings of the heart, and how we have to pour back into it the deepest aspects of ourselves if we want to get it back on track at this time.
Sam, you want to add
Marianne
something?
talked about a deeper engagement, and if I could just share this quote from Frances Moore LePay, who said, "Our real problem is not a heating planet or rampant malnutrition. We only have one real problem: our own feelings of powerlessness to manifest the solutions right in front of our noses." And so to get the deeper engagement, people have to link in with organizations that can dissolve that powerlessness.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Well, you know, I'm in a field where I don't coddle that in people. It's like when women say, how do I find my voice? You find your voice by using it on behalf of someone other than yourself. You find your power by using it. I mean, on one hand, what Sam is doing, giving people the tools, is certainly correct. But there's also a lot of, oh, I feel powerless, a kind of whining about what's been happening that would lead people, you know, if you want to Google how to get involved, you find organizations like Results. Mm-hmm. You know, I say to people all the time, you interested in a particular subject or topic, Google it, because there are all kinds of really marvelous organizations. You can be an activist. So I think we need to, I don't know what Frances herself would say right now, but I think we need to move, and I also think she said that before this current era of craziness. Mm-hmm. I think people are activated. Now we just need to find the topic, find the cause, get online, find the organization, and remember, the midterms of 2018 are closer than you might think.
Amen.
Amen.
And speaking of organizations, Sam, you're also working with the Quakers, the Society of Friends. Tell us about that.
Well, Friends Committee on National Legislation, FCNL, they had no chapters 2 years ago in this deeper way, and now they have 60 around the country. They're focused on reducing the Pentagon budget, while the president's asking for a $54 billion increase. Right. It's a tough assignment, but they have folks all around the country getting together for conference calls with guest speakers and writing these op-eds and letters to the editor and meeting with members of Congress and not doing it alone, doing it with others so it can make a difference.
Yeah.
The Quakers are great unsung heroes in American democracy.
All the way to the beginning.
Absolutely, and the abolitionist movement emerged from the Quakers. Many of the leaders of the women's suffragette movement were Quakers. Profound influence, and continue to be, of course.
And apropos of that, Marianne, you've been one of the more outspoken and articulate people arguing that we need to have some sort of an intersection between spirituality and politics in the United States. Certainly not a state religion or anything, but bringing spirituality into politics. Can you
Well, I
speak
think
to that?
democracy is by its very nature an intersection of spirituality and politics. The founding of American democracy was not just important in terms of the political history of the world, but in terms of the moral evolution of the world. The idea that God created all men equal. I mean, that's in our Declaration of Independence. It's an idea that we could create a society where, to the best of our ability, self-actualization of the individual would be possible. That's really what democracy is about, the possibility of self-actualization, that there shall be no external form of obstruction to your being everything that you can create for yourself, that God gave you as a possibility within yourself, and that the government would advocate for that possibility against any form, any barrier to that actualization. And what has happened, of course, today is that the government is not only not advocating for the people against the excesses of a corporate order that would limit the capacity of people to self-actualize, but is too often a handmaidens to those forces that would cap the possibility of self-actualization. Yeah. But you look back to the abolitionist movement, you look back to the suffragette movement, you look to the civil rights movement. We've gotten off course before, and people such as the Quakers and others have risen up to get us back on course, and we can do that now. I think the only question is, will our generation wimp out on the job?
Yeah, people such as you guys too. So, Marianne, Sam, thank you both so much for being with us tonight.